Welcome to the Get Sculpted podcast. We're your hosts, Tijana,
Jordanna,
and Marilynn.
This podcast is all about cutting through the noise and giving you the real deal on fat loss, muscle building, and what it really takes to build your 2.0 sculpted self, inside and out. Our motto is to work smarter, not harder. We'll break down science-based and actionable strategies to optimize your metabolism, ditch the diets, and create a sustainable, fit, and healthy lifestyle that actually works for you. So if you're ready to get stronger, not just skinnier, and embrace a body you love, hit that subscribe button and let's get sculpted. Hello, and welcome back to the Get Sculpted pod. We're going to be talking about one of my personal favorite topics, which is setting standards. And we're going to help you set some new minimum standards for your lifestyle to keep you consistent and keep you getting after your goals. Because here's the thing, if you think, well, I'm going to need motivation and I just need something to get me started. We always hear that, you need discipline when motivation is not present. And that is true, but you don't want to rely on only discipline either. So when you set new standards for yourself, you're telling yourself that this is the minimal thing that I need to do and the way I live my life, and I'm not settling for any less. And that's ultimately going to take me to what I want to achieve. So you remember that the minimum daily standards that we set are going to be based on the person that you are becoming. So it comes back to the saying, you want to act like you're already there. You want to show up as the person that is already doing those things. And to be honest, you might not know where to start when you're doing this because the habits and the standards that you have right now have gotten you to the place that you're at, for better or worse. So if there's an area of your life that you're like, I'm not really thrilled with where this is, that's okay. We want to level up those standards so we can change that. But you might not know what they look like because what got you to where you are now is keeping you stuck where you are now, and you can't see beyond that. So what we're going to share with you, which is going to help you, is the standards we help our clients set. And they're called our 12 Sculpted Standards. And the reason we created this and the reason we share it, and we actually share it in every single check-in, is because it can be hard to cast this vision on your own. And you want to borrow the standards that are already in place that we have identified are going to get you lean, fit, and sculpted. So I'm super excited about this. Girls, are we ready to dive in?
So pumped.
Yes, I'm very excited.
All right, sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with our first 4 sculpted standards here. And the first one is really one that we come back to with everything we do, which is work smarter and not harder. And this really means that we want to make sure that we're eating in an efficient way. Like, people think you need to spend more time on like this whole fitness thing, but it really means batch cooking and preparing your food. So you're not always tied up with cooking and thinking and ideating and like wondering what you're going to eat and going on and off the wagon. So we meal prep to buy back time and we stay efficient. And we also optimize the way that we're training. So working smarter, not harder applies in a big way here, because it doesn't mean you need to train 5 or 6 hours a week. It means you can actually train 3 or 4 hours a week and do it better and lift heavier and lift with more intention and have a program and a system and not just be doing things for the sake of sweating. So you're adding intention behind everything and you're adding planning. And this is really what we mean by working smarter, not harder. Anything you guys would add to that one?
I feel like work smarter, not harder is literally the philosophy of not just how we get great results as a coaching team and with our clients. It's a philosophy in our business. And I feel like this has become a philosophy for my personal life. And it's really about buying back my time in every possible way, because we are all so busy and we're a culture of taking on more and more and thinking that the journey has to be hard. Will it be difficult? Will it challenge us? Yes. Does it have to be hard because the list is long and arduous? No. And so I think working smarter, not harder, to me, it actually like frames up the entire list that we're going to talk about, because it's the philosophy behind everything.
Yeah, I would say it's become, honestly, like one of our overarching philosophies at Get Sculpted. I also find, and I've done a lot of reflection with the women we've worked with, but also for myself, we do tend to overcomplicate things. And we really do go from 0 to 100. So work smarter, not harder is exactly that. It's kind of like pumping the brakes saying, okay, you don't have to overhaul everything. You just have to optimize what you're doing, because odds are you're probably doing a lot of good things. We just want you to do them better and smarter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And trim the fluff. Get rid of what you don't need to focus on. Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
And let's not forget, part of that too is form feedback. So part of what we do with our students is show them like how, you're already lifting weights, but can we do this in less time and do it better? That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
So the next one is going to be to have a full commitment and no half measures. And I always like to share that we used to want to name this, don't half-ass anything, use your full ass.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're showing up to something, you might as well do it right? Like you're already dedicating the time, the mental energy, like it's already there. Why not go full force here? Okay. So you don't want to just show up and check the box. So that means that it's great if you're active. Don't get me wrong, but you really got to have like your mind, body, and soul in the workout. Like you got to be thinking about what you're doing. You're not thinking about your laundry later. All right. You're not passively like eating throughout the day and mindlessly eating. You're actually eating with intention. And that goes for everything in life. And this is going to show up for you in a big way, because when you apply this to your fitness, you're going to also not give your half measures to anything else. Another one, my favorite, is to be prepared and not surprised. When people tell me I have a hard time staying consistent, it is simply 99.9% of the time due to lack of preparation. And that's really what it is.
I agree.
And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. If you're like, oh crap, I really am unprepared. Hey, that's very figure outable.
Yes.
That just means having the right time management and coming back to being prepared. So this looks like starting each week with a plan. You don't want to fly by the seat of your pants. We talked about this in the 5 Habits of Successful People, which was, I believe, like just 1 or 2 episodes back, but you can go back and listen to that. And we're going to actually show you how to do this. But what this does when you set up each day and each week, knowing exactly how you're going to be prepared, is you remove any friction. You remove any time and brain power and decision fatigue from thinking about what you're going to do. And all you have to do is execute. Do you girls want to add anything to that one?
Just a personal anecdote. It's almost like there's so much truth to that, because when you're really ready to take accountability and you can evaluate something with clear eyes, you know whether or not you're fully committed to something and whether you're ready to make change. And by committing to something, you're also making a promise to yourself to do the actions that are needed to be done. And that a huge part of it is being prepared. And whenever I have fallen off track in my own health journey, it's always because I have lacked in those two
Trying to get
areas.
back to basics.
Yes, back to basics
Absolutely.
to get towards the progress. Like the fittest people in the world are still doing the basics.
Of course they are, over and over and over.
They're doubling down.
Exactly. And I think preparedness, it saves you time. Like it actually saves you time and effort in the long run. The more prepared you are, the less frazzled you're going to be. When we talked about the habits in that last episode, we talked about, getting yourself ready the night before for the day of, because otherwise you feel like you're behind, you're playing catch up. So I think preparedness is the best way to actually go into any day feeling like, okay, I've got this and I can handle like the surprises, because surprises will come, right? Best laid plans, surprises will come, but you are better able to handle those the more prepared you are.
Yeah.
Coach Lindsay says this, control the controllables.
100%.
And you'll never regret being prepared. Like I always say, you want to do what your tomorrow self will thank you for. You'll never regret it. Never.
Never.
All right. So the next one is also my favorite. I said that probably 3 times.
We love them all.
We've carefully selected these, so they're all our
We
favorite.
have.
So it's funny because whenever I read stuff that like we write and create, like I'm going to toot our own horn, but I'm always like, damn, we're good. Like this is on point.
Yeah.
Like I love it. Okay. So follow your plan, not your mood.
Yes.
All right. So this is where my tough love tea is going to come out. You need to just do the thing. All right. Like I think we make excuses. We really do a lot of the time and think, oh, I'm a little bit tired and it's a little bit inconvenient. And listen, like you got to just turn your brain off and just do the thing you got to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And this is the way that you're going to stay consistent, is by not relying on when you feel like doing something. Like when someone's like, I didn't feel like working out. Well, that's okay. You could do it anyway. That's the beauty of being an adult. You can say, I don't feel like doing this, but I'm going to do it. I really feel like having a bowl of ice cream for dinner, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to feel good. It doesn't align with my goals. I'm actually going to eat this other thing. So we're not telling you guys to, go out and suffer every minute, but we're saying you want to act in accordance with what you want to achieve, not just by temporary feelings. So you want to think of future you. So you want to stick to your plan no matter how you feel, and you know that your outcome is ultimately more important than your obstacles.
I always say, and I've said this since Scarlett was a toddler, was do what you got to do so you can do what you want to do. And ultimately what we want to do inside of this realm of Get Sculpted and this podcast and what you're ultimately listening to achieve is you want to be healthier. You want to be fitter. You want to live in a leaner, stronger body where your health markers are great and you have longevity and you can put on whatever you want to wear and feel like a sexy badass. Yeah. But what you got to do to have that is all the basics that we're talking about. So it applies to toddlers and it also applies to all of us.
Yeah. And I think too, like if you look at other areas of your life, I always kind of relate it back to like being an adult going to work, right? You're not going to just like not go to work one day. You're not just going to kind of fluff off those responsibilities. You show up even when you don't want to, most of the time when you don't want to. But when it comes to yourself, you're so quick to just kind of say, like maybe next time, or I'll get to it when I get to it, or I'm too busy. And that kind of makes me always step back and go, wow, like why are we filling up other people and doing things for others and not for ourselves?
It's like our parenting, right? Like if you're a parent, because it's like you wouldn't think twice about doing all these things for your kids, but you are the one who has to parent you.
True.
You're the one who has to tell yourself, no, we're going to do this, and give yourself that pep talk. And this is how we're going to do it. Because I like the next few are kind of habit focused, which I really like. So Merritt, share with us what the next one is.
I would love to. So another one of our sculpted standards is home cooked is the default. And I actually think this is funny that I got to talk about this one because I hate cooking.
But it's a good example.
It is a good example. This is exactly why I want to get into it, because it may not be what people want to hear, but the truth is nourishing your body and seeing results, it starts in your kitchen. I will fight that, but it's true. And we've all been there, right? We're running around, we're busy, we're tired. And when you don't have food prepared, like we talked about being prepared, not surprised, when hunger hits, guess what? You're going to want to go to what's convenient, which is takeout, whatever's in the fridge. And in the moment, it seems easy and quick, but almost always it ends up, you eat food that pulls you further away from your goals. It's almost never aligned with what you actually want for yourself. And I want to stress that eating out and ordering out, it's totally fine, right? Like we're not saying you can't do that, but the problem comes when those meals become the norm instead of the exception. So if you want results, the foundation has to be home cooked, nutrient dense meals, not takeout or food that's convenient. And with our Get Sculpted clients, we actually teach them the strategy of leaving room for flexibility. And we show them that no food is off limits, but the default has to be the food that is made by you because you have control over what's in it, how it's made. And when you take ownership of that, what's on your plate and what you're cooking, you take ownership of your results.
Yeah, it comes back to planning.
1,000%.
I love that you said that because I get people being like, Tijana, I actually hate cooking. And I'm like, hey, that's okay. So does, one of our coaches.
I'm the poster child.
Yeah, I think both you guys are not really big. Actually, Jordan, I don't know about you.
I was not a great cook growing up. Like anybody who has lived with me as a roommate can attest. I managed to burn water and it literally evaporated because I forgot the pot was on. So the fact that I have literally written cookbook guides,
right?
It's a miracle. So if I can turn it around in the kitchen, so can you. It does not have to be complicated.
No.
Or fancy. You don't have to like it. It comes back to follow your plan, not your mood.
Exactly. And we have so many, like almost too many resources at this point to help you get better in the kitchen. And I think that has been honestly a saving grace for me.
For sure.
Is being able to simplify it because I always thought that it had to be like these beautiful home-cooked meals with
from
everything
scratch.
organic from scratch. And it's like, no, you can steam some veggies, you can barbecue some chicken, and you can roast a potato. It's going to be amazing.
Work smarter, not harder.
And let me tell you, the one thing too that I talked to Brian last night is like every time I get takeout, I'm like, this is crap. It's so expensive for what? $60 for like, I'm not joking, 2 people to go to some crappy shawarma place that like, that used to be fast food, and it is. And, it's nothing special. You could make that at home for way less time, way less money, and it's going to keep you lean, and the macros are way better. Like, there's a pancake place across the street called Stacked, and I've never been there once because I'm like, sorry, but I would rather have my Flourish pancakes that are 30 grams of protein than get 100 grams of sugar there for like $50. For what?
But Jordan, I'm glad you kind of brought it back to like the simplicity of it too. Because again, I think everyone listening is going to start to see how these standards overlap, but it is about working smarter. I learned that lesson. I did think it had to be complicated. And as soon as I took that out of the equation, I did enjoy it more, but I do it. I do it because it's manageable.
Totally.
It goes back to that also not overcomplicating things. Okay, let's move on to our next one. So next is build a fit life that lasts. So
I love this one.
Yes, so do I. And I think this is huge too, because so many women, I'm going to say it, they fall into this trap thinking that fitness is just a phase or it's something temporary that they're doing like to diet for a vacation or, I have an event coming up. I want to lose this much weight for that. But this mindset is exactly what keeps so many women stuck in that yo-yo. Because if you are only committing to your health and fitness when it is convenient and you only stay consistent when you feel life is easy, I hate to break it to you, but you are never going to see results. In fact, yesterday we had a call, the three of us, and I think I said that to you girls, like, I would love to meet the person who has the easy life with nothing going on that they can just like focus tunnel vision on one thing. It doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And also living a fit life isn't just about workouts and nutrition. I think that's another thing we need to kind of zoom out. It's the identity that you build. So when we say live a fit life that lasts, we're talking about this is who you are. Your 2.0 self always, no matter what season it is, no matter what event you're going to. So I personally like to look at it as a lifestyle that follows me everywhere because it's who I am. So if I'm on vacation, if I'm, here, there, anywhere, this is who I am. It's not external to me. I don't pause my health and fitness when life gets hectic. I do adapt, I adjust, but actually I've come to realize that in those times, I probably hold on to my habits more than ever because they anchor me, right? They allow me to keep showing up. So I know we talk to a lot of the women that we work with about how to keep fitness as part of your life because we hear like, I'm going on vacation. I won't be able to do this. Again, yes, you will. We just have to pivot. We just have to adjust.
Reframe.
Exactly. Don't look at it as something completely separate from who you are, because if you do, then...
Or you're taking a break from it.
Exactly.
That's what gets me. It's like on vacation, everyone's like, why do you work out? I'm like, because I love it. This is like a part of who I am. And a lot of the time when we're in a resort is like, you have a gym, you're not stressed, you have more red time in your schedule. So like, we want you to get to the point and paint that for you where the identity is like, hell yeah, this is something I do.
Yes. And it's not just a means to an end. You're not just doing this to like get to this number or this goal. This is you wanting to level up all the time. Is there anything you girls would add to that?
I would just add that, and it kind of starts to get into the next one, but building a fit life that lasts, when you do eventually have times that slow down in your life, like, I don't know, if you're lucky enough to retire or your kids are getting older and you don't have to, run around with them in the same way. This is when you start to see these pockets of time expand. And if you are going on vacation and you're like, oh, I don't have those habits in place, like those are the times when your best life can actually be lived to the fullest. So to me, it's like when you're going on vacation, life finally does slow down, or it's summer or whatever it is. This is the perfect time to do the healthy habits, because isn't that your best life? Like, isn't that living your best life? And if it's not, then you really need to step back and be like, do I actually want this goal or not?
Yeah, I love that reframe. And on that note, let's talk about our next sculpted standard, which is your dream body, your dream life. T, I know you say this all the time, but it's kind of become, I think, another mantra for our team is how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So the way you show up for your fitness, I believe, is a direct reflection of how you're showing up for every single thing in your life. If you're someone who takes shortcuts, make excuses, you half-ass, you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, that mentality doesn't stop with just your fitness. It's going to bleed into relationships, your career, your confidence, and ultimately your life. Yeah. But on the other hand, if you're someone who pushes yourself, if you demand more from yourself, if you commit to building your strongest, fittest body, then you start to realize that the version of you who's building her dream body is actually building her dream life. You have confidence, you have energy, you have drive, discipline. These things don't come from nowhere. You have to cultivate these things. You have to practice them. And the way you build those is by showing up, even when it's hard. Actually, especially when it's hard, when you don't want to, when, no one else is doing it, you still have to show up. And I think the three of us have lived that. When you master this area of your life, it does spill into everything else. I think I've mentioned this on other podcast episodes. It's what allowed me to have the courage and confidence to make the shift from teaching to coaching. Truly, it gave me that shift. Yeah, Jord, I know that you feel the same. You can speak to that.
It's the blueprint. Yeah. Like when you learn how to level up in one area of your life, it is literally the blueprint that levels you up in every other area that you want to see change. And what I'd also say is, looking at this more broadly, your dream body, your dream life, when you look at your literal health, it's one thing to be like, I want to look so good as I age.
Right.
Yes. But you want to have functional longevity. And our generations are realizing sooner and sooner that compounds earlier than now. Like in our 40s, it was happening in our 20s and our 30s, and we're starting to see the repercussions of our actions in our 40s. And looking at ahead, what kind of dream life do you want to have? How long do you want that life to be? You're working so hard to potentially have a financially secure life. Well, what if you don't have the health that goes alongside that? You can't really do the things that you really want to do. You can't live your dream life if you don't build your dream body. And a dream, I think also people mistaken sometimes that it's like dream, I'm like the cover model person. Yes. No, dream means healthy, fit, strong for you. And what does that look like for you?
For sure.
Yeah. If you are someone who's a high achiever and wants to level up in your life and you strive to like be the best at everything you do, I'm going to be so bold as to say, like, you just can't do that while not prioritizing your fitness. Like, the best version of you is not unfit, period.
I agree. And, I think that, George, to your point about that, I don't know if it's just this age, like being in your 40s, but you start to see what aging looks like with like your parents and other people in your life who are, let's say,
not taking care of themselves.
Yeah. For me, it's been a bit jarring, to be honest, because I have always looked at that stage of my life, like my 50s, my 60s, my 70s, as a time where I do want to travel and I want to live this vibrant life. And we see so many of our clients who are like in their 60s and beyond doing exactly that. But when you see what the other way looks like, to me, that's scary. I don't want to have that life. I want to live the fit life where I can embrace every opportunity that comes my way. I can do anything that I want to do in those years.
Yeah,
agreed.
Okay, this next one, I actually love this one because my teacher heart comes out in this one, but it's be an active participant in gaining momentum. I do too, because I think this is another one that people, maybe it doesn't register for them how being an active participant actually helps this process. So we'll kind of get into this now. So we know, we've talked about it, life throws challenges at you. Nobody's saying otherwise. But I think the thing that separates successful people from those who get stuck is what they do when things get tough. So when the hard times come, we don't sit back and let it knock us down. We lean into it. So again, a lot of women, when they hit a rough patch in life, this goes back to like being busy and kind of, I'm going to take a break. When they're experiencing stress at work, something's going on at home, whatever it is, they feel like they need to take that step back. So they stop training, they stop focusing on their nutrition, and sometimes they check out, right? But this is where the mistake happens, because when you step back, you lose progress, but you also lose momentum. And when momentum is lost, it is infinitely more difficult to get back on track. So what we've noticed is the most successful women, they don't wait to feel motivated. They take action. It's all about taking action. They actively pull themselves out of a slump and use their fitness, their habits and routines to anchor them. T, you did an episode with Coach Lindsay on our team, and I think that was probably one of the most inspirational stories, because if anybody had a reason to say, I can't do this, she had a lot going on with her son, health issues. She could have easily said, it's too busy. Life is just too demanding. Instead, she leaned into that and she took her fitness, all her habits as her strength. And that's actually what got her through. And she talked a lot about that in our community. So I think it's just a perfect example of how when struggles happen, you have to keep that momentum going by leaning in, because momentum doesn't show up. You have to create it by taking action.
Yeah. You have to pull yourself out of a dark place. And I think people mistake this for like, it's not a place of punishment where it's like, I got to burn these calories to keep myself going. It's like, no, I got to keep myself like moving my body to stay physically and mentally sharp. Yeah. And it comes back to, if you're not the one filling your own cup, nobody else is going to do that for you. Like you have to fire at all cylinders, especially if you're supporting a loved one through something.
Yes.
Then it's your duty, to be honest, if you're a parent or a caregiver, to be firing at all cylinders. And then that starts with you taking care of yourself, not knocking that off the list, because that's going to negatively impact you being able to support them.
I would also add that a lot of us, I'll speak for myself, but I know many, struggle with anxiety or depression and mood challenges. And one of the ways that has really helped me, like when I was mourning or grieving or working through challenges with my family or loved ones, with my daughter, it always came back to what is the best way for me to manage my emotions? And sometimes it was lifting something heavy. Sometimes it was riding my bike so fast and so hard that I could just like sweat it out because I didn't know what to do with myself. And sometimes it was going on the longest walk until I was so tired because if I had stayed home, I would eat everything in that kitchen.
Yes.
Just out of sadness.
You're out of your brain and into your body. That's
exactly. You're out of your brain and into your body. I have literally bawled my eyes out through workouts because I am mourning the loss of someone or because I am so anxious from a diagnosis or something. And that is one of the things when you come back to being an active participant, to building your dream body, to building a fit life, it all comes back to what do you do when things get hard? You have to come back to the things that you want to be known for. Like, what is your identity and who are you building? And sometimes those things happen when life gets hard and you're still practicing them and they're still new to you. And that's okay. Nobody's asking for perfection, but it's really taking a second to be like, what does my body, what does my mind actually need right now? Not what do I think I need? What does it actually need? And we don't always know how to distinguish that yet.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
I love that.
All right. On that note, Jordanna, I'm going to pass it on to you to go through our last 4 sculpted standards.
All right. What I think makes Get Sculpted is so different than anything else you'll ever do to work on your health and fitness goals is how we tap into our community and how we make it a central part of what you are working towards, to keep you accountable, to keep you connected, to help you succeed, to comfort you in your challenge, to pay it forward when you've reached your actual goals or you're on your way to. And I'm so proud to say, and I say this to a lot of people, that I think our community is the nicest place on the internet.
Agreed.
Not because we're nice.
We are, but
which we are.
Sometimes, just kidding.
Most of the time. But because we won't leave you behind. And I think this is a time and space when we've never been more connected, quote unquote, with social media and FaceTime and all of the tools that we have to literally connect with one another. But we also feel the most alone. And as women, that is not a recipe for success. Feeling alone is a recipe for disaster. And so these 4, I kind of am lumping them into how we actually create community, but these standards are really about that. And so the first one is leaning into community. So our success is multiplied when we lean into one another. We use the power of community to elevate our journey and our results. The second one is about celebrating every step. So every win, big or small, deserves to be celebrated. We don't wait till the end of our journey to celebrate progress. Every step along the way is celebrated. With Win Wednesdays and Flex Fridays in our Facebook group, with photo shoots and team events in person, I think that's something that makes it very, very special and unique. Anything you want to add there?
I think so too, because I think a lot of people are conditioned to think I'll celebrate when I get here. And first of all, you miss a ton along the way. But I also think that all these things that we're talking about, the habits and the lifestyle, and becoming that 2.0 version of yourself, that doesn't happen in one giant step. So if you are overlooking all of these things that are happening along the way and you're not celebrating everything, I believe you're actually not building the habits because you're just doing it as a means to an end.
Marching orders.
Exactly.
Yeah. I tell that to my clients too. When they're overwhelmed, or let's say they have a big weight loss goal or like a big kind of mountain to climb, I tell them, we're going to focus on the next check-in, like 2 weeks. This is how I think too. I'm like, all right, 8 workouts. Like, I love my workouts, but like it's kind of framing it that way. It's like, all right, 2 more weekends.
100%.
You got to break it into those steps. It's like, oh, sick. I got my 4 workouts in this week. I got all my meals in. And then you're giving yourself that pat on the back that you need to reach the next milestone. And then you get 1% better. And then that amplifies.
Yes.
I love that.
So I have to tell you, just to nerd out on teaching terminology, that's actually a strategy we use in education. It's called chunking. Because when you think of a child, if you say, okay, here's the curriculum, we're going to learn all of these things. Blah, blah, blah. Think about it. And we really just are bigger children. We're just like grown-up versions of those little children. And you have to chunk things because 1, it's too overwhelming. And 2, to actually be able to solidify habits and learn, you have to take it a step at a time. So T, I think that's actually a perfect way to frame it. And celebrate every damn step that you take.
I love that. And one of my clients, Courtney, she used to say this early on. She's like, the journey is your life. So if you're not willing to celebrate every step along the way, you're missing out. And who wants to miss out? We need to like tune in. So I love that.
That's beautiful.
Love it.
The third one is pay it forward. Once you've achieved your transformation, it's your responsibility to actually inspire and uplift others, just like somebody did for you. Your journey continues to evolve through giving back. And most of our clients know at least one other person in the community, which I think is so cool. And my journey was inspired by, a friend. And look at what working on herself 11 years ago turned into for me. And I think that's really powerful.
I love that.
I bet someone's listening right now who is coming to us from one of our people in our Get Sculpted community.
Yes.
And I really want you to think about, what is it about that person that you admire? And, is it their dedication? Is it the fact that they're so disciplined and all this stuff? But hopefully that inspires you to say, hey, my friend over here, they're like me. They're not so far out of reach. So that's why we paid forward. It's to help other people borrow the confidence that you have achieved.
And it's not a one-time inspiration either. I think as coaches, we have this beautiful community of women, but there are plenty of times where I see something, hear something, and I'm inspired by them. So it's this beautiful kind of reciprocal relationship where it's constant inspiration and motivation.
And client check-ins. I just want you all to know, sometimes I'm like, oh man, they're keeping me on my game right now. They got more going on than me. I'm not going to say no to my stuff now.
Yeah.
I love that. The last one here is recognize progress in the moment. Very connected to celebrate every step. Catch and shout out the amazing work happening right now in our community, in your community. It doesn't have to be that you are part of Get Sculpted in order to practice this one. This can be within your family. This can be within your friend group. This can be at work. Acknowledging and encouraging others to keep pushing forward to their goals, whether it's fitness or otherwise, it's a huge thing. And that sense of validation and feeling of being seen, it's so
underutilized.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I just want to say stop, drop, and recognize.
Gold star for everybody.
Gold star for everybody. And you can be the person that starts this in your life with your community. You can be the person that randomly sends a video to somebody and said, this made me think of you. You can send a compliment to somebody. You can be at the coffee shop picking up your coffee and genuinely thank the person for hey, thanks for taking so much attention to make this amazing coffee for me. It seems so silly and we laugh at it a little bit because it's almost unfamiliar now to be nice. And it's not because we're Canadian that we're oh, be nice. No, it's because it's meaningful and it's because it makes somebody feel seen and because that one thing that you could say to somebody could turn everything around for them.
Yeah, it makes their day.
Yeah,
for sure.
Would you guys add anything to that?
I just love that because it feels so nice. We do this for us. This journey is for you, right? Of course it is. It has to be your why, but it feels nice to be recognized. It feels nice to be validated. And again, not just when you reach that pinnacle. It's I want to recognize the clients that we work with, the women in my life, for doing something great. That in itself is the motivation to keep going.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's such a beautiful one.
It is.
And once you see yourself attuning your lens to winning, you rarely want to go back to the negative lens where all you see is losing. You want to be winning. And T, you talk about that so often.
Yeah.
Do you want to bring us home?
Yeah, absolutely. So just remember that what you think of, you're going to attract more of. I think we have so many great standards here for you guys to help craft your own dream life. Remember to save this episode and come back to it because it's a meaty one.
Yeah.
It's going to serve you well. If you got value, please share away because remember, paying it forward. You can apply that standard right now. Inspire other awesome women in your life to get after it. And give us a tag. Let us know which one was your favorite. And I'm super excited because next week we're going to talk about another important pillar of our beliefs, which is breaking up with a scale and not using it to define your success. So that one is with Coach Jord. You're not going to want to miss it. Thank you and see you in the next one.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Get Sculpted. We hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to take the next step in your fitness journey. Remember, building your 2.0 body is a unique journey for you. It's about showing up for yourself consistently and not being perfect.
If you loved today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a review and tag us on social at getsculpted.ca. Your feedback helps us reach more women like you who are ready to cut through the noise and make lasting changes.
For more daily tips, inspiration, and behind-the-scenes content, follow us on Instagram and check out our handles in the show notes below. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Get Sculpted. Until then, remember this. Getting sculpted isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter.